So welcome back, Jeff. Round two.
Round two, here we are. Yes, I didn't bring my guitar. I'm sorry.
You got your business suit, your business look here
Yeah, this
today.
is less rock and roll, a little bit more,
Polished
button
up.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jeff Connor, your business is Alliance Facility Services.
Yes, sir.
How did you, well, first let's what is that, right? Because you hear that name and you're like, what the heck is that?
Yeah, believe me, when I tell my wife's friends what it is I do, hard to believe, but I joke about it and I say, well, I'm a janitor, and it's like, you're not a janitor,
Yeah.
but in effect, I am in a partial sense. Alliance Facility Services is a company started in 2018. And we are a national facility management company in all 50 states. And we specialize in customers that have portfolios with broad based geographic footprints, like branch banks, like a Wells Fargo has, multiple branches throughout many states, or Bass Pro Shops, has, almost every state in the United States has,
Yep.
their stores. And so we, what we do for facility management that confuses a lot of people, that basically the explanation is anything that makes a building function, whether it's air conditioning and heating, plumbing, electrical, janitorial, yes, landscaping, cutting the grass out front and back, that kind of anything that makes lamping, anything that makes a building functional for a business is
Hmm.
what we take care of.
Okay. And is it common for these large corporations, large companies to hire that out, like an outside third party service, or do they have their
Almost
own?
universally.
Yeah.
Yeah, a very few companies now, because they don't have to carry the same liabilities and carry the insurance and all that kind of stuff. They
Mm,
just farm it out to a service where we kind of onboard all that and kind of have a closed book service offering. And that's why companies like I mentioned as Wells Fargo, they just cut one check, have one scope of work that they want you to follow. You take care of all of our needs, and we have, the joke is, one throat to choke. We
mhm,
if there's something wrong, we talk to you.
mhm.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, and it probably simplifies it for them too. It's just like
Greatly.
you
And
yeah.
so it cuts their costs, and there's so much overhead, and especially there's so much lower margins for companies these days, especially in the retail world,
Mhm.
that they're always looking at ways to maximize their margins.
Yeah, and then it's your expertise, so, the quality of service is probably better than them managing themselves.
Correct.
Yeah, I like that. So how did you get into this?
Long story short, goes way back to when I was a teenager. No, I won't get into that far. But I got into the world of I had a summer job as a janitor. And one thing led to another. I got into music. I became a DJ. And then I got hired because I was making $5 an hour at the 99th level market in the United States for radio. And it was like, this is just not going anywhere for me. I got to do something else.
Yeah.
And my best friend was working for a large national commercial cleaning company, and said, "Hey, Jeff, how would you like to be a supervisor of a department store here in town? You can make $7 an hour." It's like, wow, $2 an hour raise. If you do the percentages, that's a huge raise.
Yeah.
And I was living on my own as a single guy in my own apartment, paying all my bills on $5 an hour at the time.
Crazy.
So it's like, man, I'm rich
Yeah.
for a while. And that's how I got started, and then I stayed with him for over a decade, and I learned all the nuances of that larger retail world instead of your local dentist office type cleaning, which I was used to in my summer jobs. Um, and I started to learn how to do all the different mechanics of that. I became an operations manager of a city, and then I became a branch manager of a state, and then I became multiple states, became a regional manager for that company. Went over to a different company because they offered me a job with this other company, who eventually got bought out by a global national facility management company. And this is the real genesis of Alliance. This global company that bought them, in the late 20 teens, they used to advertise the fact that they were one of the largest facility management companies in the world.
Mhm.
They were the largest employer on the planet and the largest commercial cleaning company on the planet. And so One thing led to another. I became the general manager of what's called the retail division at that time, and the retail division specialized in these broad-based geographic portfolios.
Mhm.
When I started with them, they were an $11 million a year house, excuse me, a $7 million a year house, annual revenue. And then we as a team built that up to when I left them in 2018, it was a $72 million a year
Wow.
division. The company that I was with decided they wanted to take a different direction, and they went public, and that was their first real, in a sense, big mistake, in the sense of now that they were owned by the stockholders.
Yeah.
Profit became more important than anything else, and so maximizing that profit share was the very first thing in their mind. So they started to make decisions where if a customer didn't make the kind of percentage profit that they wanted, they would just discard them. They were gonna just leave them alone. I knew this about a year in advance, being a part of these corporate meetings that I would attend.
Sure.
And they were gonna be taking a direction where they were only going to want key accounts. That's what they identified. If you weren't
That made
important
them the
enough to
most money,
them, we were
right?
just gonna discard you. If you're not the 6-foot leggy blonde, we won't have nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
We don't care that you're, a cute little button of a woman that's, great on a dance floor. We want Barbie. We're not interested in
Yeah.
Wednesday Adams. And so I knew I wasn't on board with that approach. I voiced my concerns of several different business practices that they were doing that was leading up to this transition, and we had our separation in 2018. Prior to that, knowing what was going to occur, I and a few people in my company started to make plans, knowing that they were going to cannibalize us, and they were likely going to lay off a bunch of people, which they eventually did. And we formed an alliance, and we created Alliance Facility Services, and that's the genesis of our name.
Okay. Cool. That's interesting.
Long story, but that's how it
Yeah.
is.
So, back to the beginning of you just like getting into this business, was there anything you enjoyed about um, maybe the early days of like getting that $7 an hour job and kind of like being a supervisor? Is it the like what do you enjoy about it? Right. That's what I'm
The
kind of getting at.
autonomy is quite nice. I mean, there's a reason that, there's the lonely, in every horror movie in the beginning, there's that lonely janitor in an office building.
Yeah.
Now, it used to be with his Walkman on, and he wouldn't see the monster or the ghost or whatever it was that was going to end up, killing him, or the serial killer's first victim. But you're alone a lot of times. You're not in an office. You can dictate certain hours that you want to keep,
Hmm.
and you have a lot of freedom to do that. It's not a glamorous job, but there is a certain sense of satisfaction that you can kind of look back and actually see the results of your day's work.
Hmm.
And it's like, wow, I did a good job. And
Hmm.
there's a lot of turnover because there's a lot of nefarious people that sometimes get into that field,
Hmm.
and the not exactly the brain surgeons of the world.
Sure.
And so but if you learn it, you apply yourself, and you kind of make an effort at it, you can definitely succeed.
Yeah. Um, what is it that like so what are some things that you learned like when you worked for the large company and kind of like your growth during that time? Like what are some key takeaways from working that corporate world?
Well, the good and bad.
Yeah,
And I'm not, I never talk bad about the former company that I work for, because they taught me a lot. They taught
sure.
me everything I know now, and they fed my family for 14 years. So, there was definitely some good times. It was just, you know, the later years at the end with new management that came in and made some decisions that I just didn't agree with.
Mhm.
But I learned a lot from them. So I would say the good and the bad of that was, I began to get exposed to individuals on a much more grander scale, in the sense of, I remember one of the big items that was interesting was I went to the corporate headquarters of Facebook because they wanted us to walk their facility and give us a price for doing their facility management. And so here I was walking the halls of Facebook, and that was just kind of cool.
Mhm.
And you got to see, I didn't, Zuckerberg wasn't, skateboarding around the offices anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
But I saw, a lot of the major players that were taking care of the nuts and bolts of Facebook. And then you got to meet personalities, and it's like, you know what? these people aren't really as
Mm.
overwhelming. Like,
Mhm.
wow, you're you, and I'm just little old me.
Yeah, yeah.
Imagine, but once you become an actor and you start to become, just a bit player, and you're intimidated of the De Niros and the
Mhm.
Pacinos, and
Mhm.
oh my goodness, this is Anthony Hopkins, and he's a Shakespeare, and so you get to see after a while that they're just people.
Yeah.
And so you learn after a while how they do their business, how to do your business, and how not to do your business.
Sure.
And so that was kind of the main benefits. The bad part is you got, like everybody else that deals in the corporate world, that whole mechanism that is a corporation, and
Yeah.
the slow moving parts, the bureaucracies, and all that stuff. And one of the things my partner and I promised that we would never do is get ourselves gummed up that way. No matter how big we might fortunate enough to become,
Mhm.
we wouldn't have that bureaucracy. We
Mhm.
keep a lean, clean, easily functional organization. And so far, knock on wood,
Mhm.
we've done that.
Yeah. Um, you hit on some interesting points there. I think one is so I'm reading a book or listening to a book called Good to Great by Jim
Mhm,
Collins right now.
mhm,
And one of the key things, so he identifies large companies and organizations that went from good to great and like why they transitioned, like how they made that transition and stuff. And one of the key factors in that is that um, he it's just like the focus of the company being on like a cause for like the greater good, right? Like
mhm.
on the cause instead of after money,
Right.
right? Like what you talked about.
2 things from that. I'm an old guy, so the first management book I ever read was from Herb Kelleher, who is
Okay.
the one of the founding members of Southwest Airlines.
Oh, okay.
And as everyone remembers, in the beginning, Southwest was fun. They were cheap. They had streamlined services. You got exactly what it is that you wanted to get from them: safe transportation with no problems, and you had a good time doing it. You didn't have to deal with all the, a lot of the things that we famously hear about the airline industry now. That's not fun to fly, or
Sure.
at all. And then we see what Southwest Airlines has turned into just in the last year. They didn't reinvest in their technologies.
Mhm.
It sooner or later came up to bit them in the rear end, and here we are today.
Mhm.
And so that's a good arc that you can give an example from with that corporate mentality and what they originally start up wanting to do and be, and then a lot of times what they end up the result. And
Y
my second thing, if you don't mind me just
yeah,
putting
go
this in,
for it. Yeah.
um, I read an interesting article about the economic downturn that we're in ever since COVID started.
Yeah.
And these are the times where you will see these major cornerstone companies just collapse. And it's because it exposes this hollow infrastructure that they haven't reinvested in, or what they have become, and their company will not survive these moments. Whereas you have these new companies that are just fresh and energetic with new ideas, or better core values,
Yeah.
and suddenly these other brand new companies appear on the scene out of nowhere, and take the lion's share of the market, right away. And cannot tell you how many times in the last 4 years, since we've really been rolling along as a company,
Mhm.
where I'll be in some sales meetings, and these national procurement directors or facility managers or whoever it is that's working for the company in these departments will do this, and they will say, "So, we've heard of your company. We've never heard of you before. Who the heck are you?
Yeah.
What's going?" And I tell this little backstory. And of course, when you're talking with people inside the industry, I can actually name the company that I used to work for.
Sure.
And you can Google it, and it'll show you that in 2018, 2019, they decided to exit out of 14 countries. And the division that I was a part of was a $72 million division, down to 11 within a year and a half.
That's crazy.
And now I think they're down to like single digit, like 2, 3 million a year.
Yeah.
Um, there's just nothing from what they were because of these bad decisions.
Yeah.
And so I'll tell them the story, and they're like, "Oh, okay, that's who you are.
Yeah.
Now I get it." The light bulb goes off.
Yeah.
And that's what often happens. Corporations, a lot of times, much like governments, become bureaucratic, and they become legacy brand companies.
Mhm.
Yeah, Sears was wonderful back in the 1940s and
Mhm.
50s. Man, they were
Mhm.
had it all going on. Something happened in the last 50 years that the
Yeah.
market share for Sears just largely went away, and you barely see a Sears store anymore. At
Yeah.
least what it was.
Yeah. What do you um how do you think you prevent that? Like, so as like your company grows and
Mhm.
stuff and becomes larger and larger, you have more employees, more staff and everything. How do you because some of these companies, like, they do great for they can be one of those great companies for a
Mhm.
long, long time, and then maybe there's a change in ownership or management or something, and then some bad decisions happen. But, like, is there like, how do you think you, like, future proof your business or company to prevent some of those
Well, that
things to
is
happen?
largely the linchpin moment. When let's say, for example, if I and my partner decided to sell our company to some big corporate giant,
Yeah.
when we cashed out, and started to, I moved to Bangkok and retired for the rest of my life quite
Yeah.
happily. And I'm just kidding. And you know, um, I think at least as long as the owners, or at least the second generation of owners, you have to champion and trumpet your core values at all time. You can't let those values go secondary to just money.
Mhm.
Um, Money will always take care of itself, or profits will always take care of itself. If you just take care of the customer, and really, in our case, our people is even more important than our customers.
Yeah.
Because we've found that if we
Which is
can.
probably the case for almost every business,
Very
right?
true. I
Take
mean,
care of your
look how
people.
look what happened with all the Southwest Airlines pilots and flight attendants that were back in the glory days of, the 70s and 80s, when, they got to stock, they were got a personal birthday card from the owner himself. They were invested in the company every day.
Mhm.
They loved what they did. They had fun going to work.
Mhm.
And that reflected in how they treated their passengers. Um, you know, despite, not despite, and an opposite example of what you see oftentimes, a flight attendant, you know, on her, third overnight flight,
Yeah.
and she's not getting paid very well, and they're about ready to go on strike, and yeah, just they just don't like people,
Yeah.
and they're not happy, and then the customer picks up on that, like, gee,
Yeah.
I
And then it's a
hate
bad experience
I
for the
hate this
customer.
airline,
Yeah.
like,
Yep.
there's no fun. I went on Southwest,
Yeah.
and had a flight attendant fall out of the luggage compartment and
Yeah.
sing me happy birthday, that kind of a thing. So you just have to champion those core values. And then my partner and I have already talked about down the road, if we get to that point where someone's interested in purchasing us,
Yeah.
um, what safety nets and parameters do we have in place well before that, to insulate and protect our people from being cannibalized themselves? Because
Mhm.
um, there's ways to structure sales agreements and contracts, just like anything other contract,
Mm.
where you can protect people and take care of them. So that's, way down the road. We do that when we're having a few old fashions, for our annual meeting, and it's just
Yeah.
him and I at the bar, looking way down the road. But those conversations need to be had, and you have to remember that you're nothing without your people who take care of your clients, and you're nothing without those clients either.
Mhm.
So take care of your people no matter what. So you just have to make sure that's a focus.
Yeah. And it's almost like those, being very firm in those core values that you've set up for your business, and then it's like, when you're if you get to the point where you're selling, or new management is coming in, right, you're almost interviewing them to make sure that they align with those core values as well before you, like,
Yeah,
sell off to them
true.
or bring them
Very
on.
true. And we have even identified potential clients that have wanted our business, and it's like, you're just not a good fit. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
you're bad business.
Yeah.
You're going to take care. You're going to cost me too much time, and you're going to cost too much anxiety. You complain too much. You want
Mhm.
you want to suck me dry from all my financial blood and capture it all yourself. I just don't think it's going to be a good fit.
Yeah.
And instead of, what we used to term, instead of, a company being a revenue whore, take anything that comes our way. Oh, no, I can make $5 on you. Yeah, but it's a pain in the rear end.
Right, right.
I don't care. It's $5. No, you got to identify that and weed that out. And
Mhm.
thank you very much, but I don't think you're a good fit for us.
Yeah, yeah, and it keeps that goes back to, like, keeping your employees happy too, because 'cause
True.
they're gonna enjoy coming to
And
work.
it's funny, conversely, you see the same companies with the incredulity, like, "How can you? Don't you know who we are? We're Sears." Well, yeah, you're Sears, I know, but,
Yeah,
uh, yeah,
not a fit for us.
not a fit for us.
So let's talk about leadership a little bit because it sound your career path, you've probably kind of developed some skills around that, and I think it is like a skill set, right?
Depends who you talk to.
Yeah.
I just follow the lead of my wife, and she teaches me all the leadership skills, and no, I'm just yeah,
I'll cut that clip and send it back to her.
yeah, highlight that one, would you please?
Yeah.
That'll put a few feathers in my hat. No, yeah, I think that's also an important part about being aware and kind of having that high level overview of things and being able not to be so myopic and caught into the daily grind of, oh, look at these numbers and
Mhm.
whatever's going on. You have to kind of step back and be able to look at the big picture. um, my partner and I are would be great if we were a married couple. I have the ability to have great three-dimensional oversight with these big grand ideas. He's really skillful at dotting the i's and crossing the t's. Not that he can't look at the bigger picture, or not that I can't dot a few i's and cross a few t's, but that's just
Mhm.
our strengths.
Mhm.
So I'll take some of the craziest ideas that you could possibly imagine. And I'll say, hey, let me throw that at you and see if any of it sticks. I like this. I don't like that. I like this.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how we work. And then with the leadership skills goes back to what we originally started talking about. You learn from what you see and are aware of. You know how to behave and how not to behave. It's almost like I don't want to be an abusive husband because I've seen this example, that example of what I don't want to be like. However, I've seen this example of who I like. So
Mhm.
I'm going to work towards that, and I'm going to stay away from that.
Mhm.
And hopefully it works.
Yeah, and you think
Otherwise, my wife will beat me up. No.
do you think part of that is I mean, just it's like learning from example, right? Or
Yes,
leading by example too.
exactly.
Um, and so you could be put in bad situations where you pick up bad habits maybe, right? So
True.
having the right people around you, the right leadership around you
And
to
I
learn
rem I
from.
I remember, this is one of the early lessons I learned also as well. In the early days of the Japanese car industry, the Toyotas and the Datsuns before they became Nissan, and the
Mhm.
Mazdas and all those different kind of companies, the top guy at Toyota would occasionally walk down to the factory line, and he would work on the line,
Mm.
and he could do right side by side the same things that you would see his employees do. Now, American companies at one time would have, and I don't know if they still do it, that they would adopt a day where that would reverse, and you'd see, the CEO cleaning toilets. However, I noticed that's just for a day. It's almost like a little bit of
Like a gimmick or
a
something.
gimmick, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, "You see, we're not done there with you." "No, you're not, because the other 364, you're yelling at me," that
Yeah,
kinda
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And so, you know, I like that ability, and I have that many times. I trumpet the thing where, you touch it, you own it. I mean, I tell that to every one of my new hired managers. Don't just leave it for that person that's, Maria in the middle of the night that's cleaning the toilet. You see something, you're expected to clean that toilet and take care of there. You're not that special. You're not
Mhm.
that big. Tighten that bolt, you know, grab that weed and pull it out, change that light bulb, whatever it is that you figure, well, I'm too important for that. No, you're not.
Mhm.
We're all in it together.
Yeah.
And Maria or whomever can see that, hey, look, this guy is helping me out. He's not just all talk, he's action.
Mhm.
So yeah, you lead by example, and we're all in it together. We all carry different tools in our toolbox and weights that we carry. But I am no better than anybody else. I just do a different job.
Yeah. I think that's a good point because and maybe it's like a respect factor, like, in order to get the respect from your employees, like, you need to be able to show them that, like, "Hey, I'm not any bigger than you. I can get down there and do this work too, and I know
Mhm.
how to do this work, right? Like I've done it before and had that experience.
And I've seen that in the corporations. Then that's, I think, is one of the telltales of bureaucrats, bureaucracy, is
Yeah.
slow moving. Oh no, I'm Senator Jackman. I'm not
Mhm.
supposed to be doing this.
Yeah.
Look, I'm for the little guy. Well, if you're for the little guy, help the little guy out. I mean,
Yeah,
get down there
yeah,
and help.
yeah.
Now, and
Not just all talk.
it's not just all talk. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's part of that as well, and all kind of meshes together. Who you actually are, both as a person and then as the company you represent.
Yeah, I like that. So what do you see as the future, for your company, for the business?
We've been very blessed. When I departed the previous company, it was the anniversary of my 14th year working for them. I was going to start my 15th year,
Mm,
and this cadre of corporate managers appeared on the scene in my office. I knew what was coming months in advance anyway, so I was
yeah.
surprised they were so late. Where you been?
What took you
I've been
so
milking this for the last 15 days. No, not just kidding. And so, um, I forgot the question. Excuse me. I'm
the
sorry.
future of your company.
I was making a joke and I forgot the future of the company. Um, we've been very blessed that we knew what they were going to do, but we had an opportunity. We knew that it was coming, and when it happened, then we jumped on it. In January of 2019, so we had to wait like about 5 months for our very first check. We started with three companies that the other company had discarded,
Okay.
and they were suddenly left serviceless, and they were desperate. And we were there to kind of say, look, nothing's going to change from what you know had before. I took care of you for a decade previous, and you're just going to write a different name on the check at the end
Yeah.
of the day. So we started out the first year. I think we were at like 1.8 million, I think, for these three national companies. So we had a
Mhm.
$1.8 million company at the end of 2019. A lot of companies can't say that, but we're just in
Sure.
we're in a different market of how we, calculate our revenue and our parameters. Um, Currently, right now, we're sitting at little short of $23 million a year company. We intend to mimic what happened in the retail division of the previous company, where we experienced nice growth
Sure.
over a period of time, and we're going to follow the same parameters. We're going to even take more opportunities to streamline with the new technologies that are available today that the dinosaur didn't really want to get involved with, because that's not what we do. So we can easily pivot. We'll never go public.
Mhm.
I mean, it would take really something remarkable for us to do that. And even then, we would have to have some parameters set up that we would, again, protect people.
Sure.
Because I don't want to get in that thing where stockholder A is really upset because your market share only increased 25 cents a share.
Yeah.
Too bad. Don't invest in the company.
Yeah.
Don't want to get confrontational, but I mean, that's not who we are.
Yeah,
So I
right.
mean, we intend to repeat, hopefully mimic the same growth trajectory that we had before, and then we'll see what happens at the end of the day. But so far so good, and I think if we just stay the course, once you build a better mousetrap, then
Yeah.
all the rest will follow.
Yeah.
And don't lose the values that you started out with, and everything will take care of itself, and then we'll just see what happens.
Yeah, I like that.
I don't get too concerned much anymore. I don't fret and worry. I without getting too metaphysical about, the universe is going to be there to answer for me, all that kind of thing, and the secret, and that whole thing.
Yeah.
Uh, I have learned in my old age that just do the right thing, and things will most of the time take care of itself.
Fall into place, yeah.
Things happen. Things will always happen. You just fix it,
Yeah.
and then you just move on. So that's the intention for the company, is we just kind of make ourselves available. We try to be that innovative, company during this economic downturn, where other, companies are just trying to hang on to survive. Well,
Yeah.
we're there for you. We can take care of you.
Yeah.
If we all come to an agreement that, look, this is where you are, let's not cloud the issue with any sophistry. This is what you need, and I'll provide it, and I'll get you by, and
Mhm.
we'll get through this together. But I'm here to help.
Yeah.
We're not, and it's so funny that companies will hire other companies and they'll become adversaries and they'll just beat up that company until that company can't service them anymore. And it's like, it's just not a good, almost like when you date you go, you're in the dating world
Yeah.
and you put on the great face. And then as soon as, okay, I'll go out with you. Yeah, but I'm jealous. And where have you been? And no,
Yeah.
I don't need this,
Yeah, yeah.
So, uh, we have open and honest conversations. If you look at our website, our values are right there. We're
Yeah.
open, honest, and transparent, and we take care of our people, and everything else will just generally follow.
Yep, I like that. And it goes back to, kinda like pulling out some of the good things from the previous company, right? Like
Mhm.
pulling out like what you learned there, applying it, and then just making it better with the new company.
That's the idea,
Yeah, I like that. And it's working.
and it's working.
It's working. So you know this, I like to wrap up with one question.
Mhm.
I think your answer last time we talked about like your favorite spot to go to when you're not working.
Well,
Uh,
now it's going to be Bangkok.
Oh, okay, okay.
I had been there before, and my family's going to go there in about 3 weeks. So we're going to go on vacation.
Cool.
But when I'm not working, I still I like the stage.
Yeah.
I go to the stage with my son. Shameless plug. We play
In
in
case
the
you missed the
staff rock
previous,
band,
yeah.
and so that's always fun. And so either my studio or we like to go out of the country on vacation, and then Vegas is always an outlier.
Yeah.
Vegas is always there.
What do you why do you like to travel?
You get to meet new people,
Yeah.
and I think you just see different cultures, and you get exposed to a different outlook, and you don't get so isolated and insulated in your own little universe that this is it. Now there's a whole world out there.
Yeah.
And so try different foods, smell different smells.
Mhm.
It's just fun.
Yeah.
It's just fun.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. What's your favorite country outside of the United States?
Thailand. Yeah,
Thailand. Okay.
I have become I think that might be one of the places I may retire, either
Oh, wow.
Thailand or Kuala Lumpur. I want to experience Dubai. I've never been to Dubai.
Okay. Yeah.
That just depends on how much we can sell the company for in about
Y
10. No,
yeah.
so yeah, I think Thailand is Southeast Asia is my favorite place.
Okay, cool. I haven't been. We have to check that out next.
Game changer. It's a whole different person. It's not what you're led to believe in the media.
Okay.
It's not an
Yeah.
Oliver Stone movie in the 1960s. Very, very modern, very technological.
Yeah, I like it. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for being here.
Thank
We'll
you for
have all of
inviting
the
me.
stuff in the descriptions below for your links for your company and stuff, but thank you.
Very honored. Thank you.
Yep.